And as you heard from his intro, my guest today on the Parrot Cave podcast is a former rugby league player, professional rugby league player for South, Manly, and the North Queensland Cowboys. Played 194 games, 14 tests for Australia, 11 games for New South Wales in both State of Origin and the Super League competition as well, 5 games for New South Wales City, and also one of the toughest players I've ever seen play the game. And a few other players have said that as well. Welcome to the Parrot Cave podcast, Mr. Ian Roberts.
Nice to be here, Troy. Thank you for the invitation, mate.
Not a problem. Now, born in England and as a family moving over to the South Sydney area in New South Wales, Australia, what was growing up like for yourself? What were some of the things that you enjoyed doing as a kid?
Mate, I was one of the original 10-pound poms. My mum and dad moved over from the UK with 3 kids in tow, all under the age of 5, with about 30 pounds in their pocket. Mate, we came from I grew up in a very working class family. My mum and dad are both very working class when they were in England as well. We lived in basically housing commission. I did up until my very late teens, early 20s, mate. So school wasn't, unfortunately, school wasn't a priority. Education, which I'm really like, I'm a like I'm big on education now, mate. Education. I think that's our greatest means, our greatest sword and shield for a progressive community, I think. But yeah, when I was growing up, school was really just a substitute babysitter while my mum and dad went to work. Um, my brother and I both played footy. My sisters played sport as well, and that was just to get us out of the house. It was a very different time back then too, mate.
Yeah,
Very different time. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Now, did you find rugby league or did rugby league find you?
It was just kind of but that's what boys did back then. Like everyone just played footy. It was in footy or union or whatever. But next door neighbours when I was 5, when I was like 4 or 5, were playing from, it was Maroubra Lions. I just went along with them. Ended up playing for the Maroubra Lions and then Maroubra Diggers for 5 or 6 years, all in the South Sydney juniors. Then I ended up at Mascot. It was just what kids did. And like I said, my sisters played mostly netball. I was also, part of the tadpoles, the nippers. That was all. It was just kind of a standard set procedure that
Yeah,
that most kids and that did. I grew up on and around. I went to Maroubra Bay from kindergarten to high school, or Maroubra Bay School. So I kind of grew up on the beach. Yeah, surfed a lot as well. Yeah, I was pretty atypical for my generation, I suppose.
was South Sydney the team that you followed in the competition back then?
Kind of weird. My mum and dad were big South fans, and we used to go along to the old Redfern Oval. I used to slide down the back there on the old cardboard. But remember the old slope at the back of Redfern Oval? All the kids used to get on the cardboard boxes, or
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was. But yeah, I grew up in that era. We used to sit behind it was a Southern Post, sit right behind the post. That was our little spot. It was kind of just a routine thing. We go along whatever day they were playing, the Friday night, the Saturday or Sunday. It was mostly game games through them, and that's when they had 3 grades as well, mate. Young, 20,
yeah,
reserve. Used to go there basically for the whole day.
yeah. Wow.
Yeah, we used to. That was quite the trip from South Coogee, where we used to live in the housing commission, to Redfern Oval, but it was just part of the routine, like the weekly winter routine.
Yeah. Who were some of your favourite players back in the day growing up?
It's kind of weird. When I got to like my early, I suppose, early teens and maybe 10, 11, 12. I used to barrack for Manly. I don't know why I was barrack for Manly, but even though we used to go to South games and all the
Yeah,
time, I was a Manly supporter. Um, I see. Blokes like Bozo and obviously like Bobby Fulton, Graham Eady, Terry Randall were kind of some of my favourites. But I mean, from the South era, I mean, you Sats. I mean, there's so many legends in that team. Like Sats, Bobby McCarthy, like Lurch, George Piggin, like his Sadie. There's so many incredible players in that era for South. But yeah, I was more a man. Like it's funny, I became more of a Manly supporter, not for any other reason. I have no idea why I switched
Yeah,
over.
that would have been fun times in the household then. South and Manly being
I
arch
mean,
rivals.
I always say the best thing that ever happened to Manly was the Broncos coming into the competition because like everyone used to hate Manly. Like the Broncos coming in, it almost took the pressure off Manly. So everyone from Sydney switched from hating Manly to hating the Broncos.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
The Silver
Now,
Tails, mate. The Silver Tails. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's it. The Silvertails and the Western Suburbs Magpies, the Fibros.
Yeah, very
Good,
good.
good times, good times. Now, was it just a case of playing in the South Juniors competition that you eventually signed with South Sydney and
Yeah.
made your first grade debut there?
Yeah, that's all it was, mate. I just worked my way through the ranks. Yeah, I got graded right at the end of '85. I played about three or four games in under 23s, and I played three or four in the reserve grade. And that was the end of the season because I'd been graded right at the end of the year. And then I started '86, and that's when George Piggins first took over as coach, and Gus Gould was playing in the team. Gus
Yep.
kind of basically did coach the side, even though George was there as the official coach. Yeah, I mean, it was one of those situations. I think I would have been 20, I suppose. I felt right out of place in that pack. You know, the likes of like Dave Boyle, Mario Fennick, Les Davis, and like yeah, you had these incredibly awesome front rowers. They're almost terrifying to pack down with, let alone against. Yeah.
Yeah, well, speaking about that, during those days, it was the Manly pack, the Bulldogs pack, the Tigers pack, South Sydney's pack as well. Who did you find was the toughest pack to play against in the '80s and early '90s?
It's kind of weird, mate. I was like, I was 20 when I came into grade. And when you're 20, mate, I don't think I really, I mean, personally, I don't think I really gained my own self confidence and my own sense of self until my mid 20s when I was playing at Manly. All the I was I always felt intimidated. Like I always felt like I wasn't good enough to be there, particularly in like when I first got graded in '86. And the first game we played was a Charity Shield against St George, and I had to pack down against. I hadn't played first grade before, but I had to pack down against Craig Young. Remember Craig Young?
Yeah, yeah.
He to me was just like a god in front rows. I was almost like in awe packing down against him.
Okay.
And I think that's sometimes a younger, and that's what experience counts for. Sometimes younger people, they just get overwhelmed by the situation. I didn't think I deserved to be out there. Like, I'll never forget, we used to have this, this is back in the day, and I'm glad the game's been cleaned up and tidied up, but this is back in the day when the occasional all-in was quite a regular thing. But we used to have a call, Craig Coleman Tugger. It was a call called Henry. And Henry meant, like, we were packing him for a scrum. Henry meant that it was an all-in. Like I was like 20 years old, and I'm packed down against Craig Young.
Yeah.
And Craig walks through the middle of it with the scrum. He said, "Oh, Henry's on, Henry's on." I'm like, no, you can't. There's no way. Anyway, and he broke out. I just never, like, Craig Young grabbed me by the scruff of the neck. He nearly put his fist through the back of the head, and I was just happy to take the dive. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was back in the day. That was a very different time, mate. And I'm glad all that stuff's been phased out. The game really does. The game has come on in leaps and bounds. But that was kind of when I started, and that's what I meant. That's what I mean by your maturity and that, like, experience. And that does, I don't think I really found my feet until my mid-20s when I was at Manly. Yeah.
Was it also too then an overwhelming experience playing against the Kangaroos in '86
Oh, and I
when
played
you
for
were playing
Wigan.
for Wigan?
Yeah, mate. It was one of those. I mean, I had I got to say, I had. Uh, uh, I'm going to sound like a bit of a bit of a big head. I actually had one of the best games of my life against Wigan. I had it's one of those rare moments. Everything. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes things seem to slow down, and you're just like, oh, like. I did have I had an incredible game against Wigan. It was quite intimidating playing against the Kangaroos. We got beat. I think we got beat 26-18. But in fairness, it was one of those games we could have gone any way. Like we got off to a really bad start. They jumped out to really, I think, about 3 tries. They scored about 3 tries in the first 10 minutes or something. But we came back and it wasn't so much intimidating. It was kind of weird because after that, Bob Riley, was it Bob? Not Bob. Malcolm, the English coach. What's his name?
Malcolm, really?
Malcolm, really. That's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. He because I'm English born, I was
yeah.
got asked to play for England. It's one of those, and
Okay,
it's one of those decisions because I was over there actually on a British passport. Back then, you can only have a couple of 3 imports at any one club
okay.
overseas, but I didn't count as an import because I had a British passport.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Anyway, but it is one of those decisions that I do kind of regret, not regret, but I do wish I'd actually played for England because I would have still been eligible to play for Australia. But
Okay.
as a 21-year-old, I just thought playing for Australia was the be all and end all, and it is. But I do wish I'd taken that opportunity to play for England when I had the chance. And the whole thing in Wigan, mate, the Wigan was so good for me personally and my style of game. Graham Lowe was there, was a new coach. It really freed me up as a ball player. That's probably a bad choice of words for a gay man saying that.
I know what you meant, but
You'll have to edit that bit out, mate.
no, that's all right. That's all right.
Oh my God, that's all. I'm sure you, yeah, like it really helped me with my offloading skills. I mean, I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to recover from that moment.
That's okay. That's all good.
But yeah, no, it was really good for me personally. I kind of, yeah, I would say that's where I first felt like I had something to contribute to the game, and I felt like I could change a game. I had the, yeah, potentially I could change a game.
Now, 1989, South are minor premiers, and they bow out of the competition when many
Yeah.
thought they were one of the favourites to win it. The next year you signed with Manly. Was it both disappointing to leave South and exciting to join Manly, the club that you followed as a kid?
No, mate. Like a lot of people. I mean, I think that was one of the best decisions I made for my career. I'd done an, how can I put this? I don't want to start. I'm not going to be critical of anyone. I had a great time at South, but my time there was done. I mean, I don't know how to explain this. They were having there were some internal situations happening. It wasn't just about the money and Graham Lowe also went to Manly. That was his first year at Manly, and I'd had such a good relationship with him at Wigan.
Yeah.
We'd stayed in touch. I mean, we're still good friends now. I saw Larry last week. I mean, he was over here.
Okay.
Like we're still best of friends now. We're actually hopefully we'll be working on a literacy program in and around corrective services around jails. He does that over in NZ, and hopefully I'll be working with him on a literacy and numeracy program, education program for.
Oh, nice.
But I think that was. I think for me at that time, it was. I had to leave. I needed to leave South because it wasn't just about the football. There was other stuff going on that I wasn't 100% comfortable with. I was also, mate, don't forget, that's also the time in 89, 90 when I went to Manly. I mean, it was probably the worst kept secret in rugby league that I was gay, right? Like I
Yeah.
was a gay guy, and that was yeah. There was issues around that at South as well that I was but I'm not standing here bagging it or criticising everyone. I loved my time at South, mate.
Yeah.
It was time for me to leave. People, there was other stuff happening in my life that I had to
You
deal with.
needed a fresh change
Yeah,
and another challenge.
when I first left South, my intention was when I went to Manly that I was going to come out publicly. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but there's a guy by the name of Justin Fashanu who used to play in the Premier League over in England, soccer.
Okay. Yeah.
And Justin came out in 1990 as a gay man playing First Division, same Premier League, so. And the English press and the supporters brutalised him, mate. He was, and when I went to Manly in 1990, I thought I was going to come out then, but back then, mate, that was a time when there was no mobile phones and that. And if you wanted to follow a story, you really had to read it in the newspapers, follow it on TV or on the radio.
Yeah.
And with all the gay press, and that story was quite a. There was a lot of content. He was brutalised by the English press and supporters. I just felt like, oh shit, I didn't know if I was ready for that.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
But that was one of the other reasons I went to Manly as well. That was going to be my time to just to speak honestly and truthfully about my situation. As it was, it took a couple of. I mean, but even when I got to Manly, mate, everyone knew I was gay. It was.
Yeah.
It was one of those. I mean, my then partner Shane, he was, the guy, the mascot, the guy in the big Sea Eagles, like the big beak and the big, doing cartwheels and that. That was my partner Shane. That was
okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
everyone knew Shane and I were together, but it was almost like this code of silence that no one wanted to breach the elephant. No one wanted to talk about the elephant in the room. It was great, mate. It was the best thing for me personally. Yeah.
And during that time, was it tough for yourself on the field in that situation during that time, or?
Not so much tough on the field, mate. I mean, I kind of particularly the early 90s, 91, 92 is when I really found my way on the field. My sense of kind of what I was good at. And the thing that was kind of debilitating for me and really used to get me down was, I mean, stuff like my parents used to go to all the games and all that. Like the stuff that was said at me from supporters and that, I'm okay. I was always okay with that, mate. Like, I mean, it didn't really bother. I used to hear it on the field all the time. I'm talking about all the slurs. But I did used to worry. I used to worry about my family and my friends who used to have to hear it as well. You know what I mean? It was you used to. I mean, you can't protect everyone. You know what I mean? You're like, and I did feel like, yeah, that was difficult. Like, there was a couple of but I mean, I don't hold any grudges or anything like that. That's just, I mean, it was of its time, you know what I mean? I like those sorts of slurs and that, even though, they weren't a positive, it's in no way positive. That was kind of its time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, as you said, you sort of made your mark when you signed with Manly, and 1990 saw you both play State of Origin and also for Australia as well. We'll start off with State of Origin. You played in a pretty dominant era for New South Wales in the early 90s. What was your favourite part about playing State of Origin?
The amazing thing about Origin is, I mean, I found was just how quick the game is. And when I say quick, I don't just mean, pardon me, I don't just mean the pace of the game, but how quick the actual time goes. Like, you run out and they kick off, and then it feels like 10 minutes has passed, and the referee's blowing for half time. But like, it was kind of that. Things just seem to happen so quickly. I don't know. And you're right. I think we won it in 90. We lost it in 91. I don't think I played 92. I played 93 and 94, which we won both those series. And then I played in that tri-series when the Super League thing happened. Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of weird. Origin is like I don't think people realise how important the original Origin game back in 1980 was. 1980, the first one,
Yep,
1980.
yep, 1980, yep.
I don't think people realise how important that game was. I mean, and what I mean by that, I often say that that game was almost because it set such a benchmark. I always think if New South Wales had won that first game, that would have set the tone for the rest of the like. But
Okay,
because
yeah,
Queensland came out and just bash the shit out of New South Wales and like really dominated, like it set the bar of what
yeah,
was. It was almost like the most important game of rugby league ever played. Like for what it's contributed and what it's that the Origin series now owes everything to that first game. Like it is such an incredible like. Sorry, mate. What was your question? I get carried away.
Well, what was your favourite memory of playing State of Origin football?
Uh, it's always silly things like running out, running out the initial wow factor when you run out and you just think, oh, and you're in the middle of the field before kick off, and it's just that atmosphere. It all you do kind of literally feel like a bit of a gladiator, like thrown into the lions. You know what I mean? It is very much and it's also very surreal. Like it always feels like um, um, yeah, it feels like almost like a dream state, which
It,
is but that's I mean I think that's why it's just like when players when they retire and they get the first couple of years after you retire from footy, regardless of what level you played at, it's a big adjustment to make.
okay,
I don't want to like demean this, but just getting back into a normal lifestyle.
yeah,
Yeah, when
it's a
all you ever
difficult transition, isn't it?
oh, it's a huge tragedy, and when you played at those levels as well, it does become quite addictive, mate. Like it does, and it's I understand the level of the reason there are so many mental health issues and that for ex players and that it is quite an adjustment. Like I mean, this is probably sounding a bit but I mean, there aren't many professions where like you peak at 30. You know what I mean? Like, and that's sometimes how it feels when you're a sports player,
Yeah,
or
definitely.
it's just like, oh shit, now what now?
Yeah,
After you played in those Origin and grand finals, or you played for your country, like everything just seems a bit, for a while, a bit dull.
yeah, yeah. Well, one of my favourite Origin games is Game 2, 1991, where MG was on a seek and destroy mission against Queensland.
I was
What,
right.
what,
I know that I was there, mate. I know exactly what you're talking about. He was.
what do you remember about that halftime section of the game where it all
Uh,
went crazy?
I mean, you got two incredible competitors there, like with MG and Wally, right? Like, come on, like they wouldn't get. You're not going to get an inch out of any of those two. None of them were going. No one was going to back down. The intensity, but that's what I mean. That's what I mean about that first Origin game. It's like that's what makes the Origin spectacle such a like a crowd favorite. Like it feels like it almost feels like remember what was his name? The ex caller,
Darrell
let the
Eastlake,
war begin. What was his?
Darrell Eastlake.
Darrell Eastlake. Yeah, remember they like let the war begin. Like,
Yeah,
but it really that kind of encapsulates like Origin, right? And that moment you're talking about like encapsulates that moment. Again, you got that other great those other photos of players head like pulled into each other head to head and like
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's great. Did you think MG was going to clock Wally or?
I was like, yeah, well, I mean, when it's like that, mate, everything becomes so elevated. It's just like, yeah, anything can happen. Like it really is like um, throwing gasoline onto a fire. You know, what I mean, it has that potential to really
Yeah,
explode.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't.
Yeah, I think he's glad too that he didn't as well, because it wouldn't have had the same meaning today as it did then, sort of thing. Like, people have all different thoughts about what it could have been,
Yeah.
something like that.
Just a nice,
Um,
just a really good moment, like
yeah,
as it stand out, it's just one of those wonderful moments you think to, you just think, fuck that's Origin.
yeah,
That's Origin footy is all about. No one back down. But
that's it. Well, also you started playing for Australia as well at this stage of your career, and no doubt a massive honour playing for Australia. Is scoring 2 tries against France at Parramatta Stadium one of the favourite memories of playing for Australia?
you know what? I'd forgotten all about that until you just said that.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
two
just
two
remembering you
tries
right.
against France at Parramatta
Yeah,
Stadium.
I do remember. Funny you say. Funny you said that. Yeah, no, you're right because I never got to score many tries, but I do remember the second half of that game thinking, God, I've got to score a hat trick. I've got to score a hat trick. How do I get over for a hat trick? And about 3 or 4 times, I was the last pass to the next player to score a try. I was like, oh, should I do this? Should I go myself? Should I go? Like I do remember that. Like, oh, you've got to do a hat trick. Yeah. Oh my God.
You should have not passed
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Well, that's yeah, yeah.
But also the '94 Kangaroo Tour, was that obviously that would have been a goal of yours at the start of '94 to make that tour.
Yeah,
Um,
I missed the tour in '86, and I apparently it was between me and Ciro. I've spoken like I found it was between me and Ciro going at '86, which is
okay,
to
yeah,
rookie of the year, and in the '90s series, I did McGroin in the semi final against Brisbane,
okay.
and so I missed that as well. Yeah,
So yeah, the '94 was the last Kangaroo Tour as we know it. It was also Mal Meninga's last Kangaroo
yeah.
Tour. Um, were you concerned about your position after losing the first test?
No, like, I haven't. No, mate. I actually like I wasn't because I'd actually played okay. I had a really good game leading up to that. Even leading up to the test match, I had my form as a front row. I was probably the leading front row on the tour at that stage. Like, and my game in the first, I actually played okay in that. My form was okay. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not criticising anyone else either. I was no, but to play at Wembley and then to get beat by 12 men. It's and I also think that was the first time Australia had lost in about about 3 tours on because the other 2 tours were the 1990 they weren't beaten. The 86 were the Invincibles. Remember that?
yeah, yeah,
So that was the first time an Australian team had lost in about 8 years over there.
yeah,
But we played we didn't play well then. I mean we came out the next two test match and like we put it to bed. Like we did smack their
yeah,
bums the
definitely.
grasses in the next two. But yeah, they played out of their skin and they played out of their skin.
That's it. Is
And
there a
we,
favourite Kangaroo tour story that you can remember? What stands out?
I do, but it's not really about the football. So I mean, it's more about my situation and about being a gay guy. Is this uh, now to tell you this story? I need to give you a few caveats and let you know when you're on tour, players' wives and girlfriends aren't allowed to stay with them in the hotel because the playing unit has to stay together. By all
Yeah,
means, they're allowed to come in and have a meal or see their partners, but
just
they're
not
not allowed to
stay.
stay. They're not allowed to stay overnight. That's just a golden rule, right? And I still wasn't out at this time, even though everyone on the tour knew I was gay. My partner Shane was over. A lot of the other players' wives and girlfriends did come over to watch the tour, but they were staying at other hotels. Right?
Yeah,
Shane was staying at a B&B down the road. That's my then partner, the guy who used to dress in the mascot in the Sea Eagles suit. Anyway, and Bozo and I had never spoken about my sexuality, right? This
okay.
is leadership. This is why it's real leadership. And this was probably I reckon this is the toughest conversation that man has ever had. But I'll never forget. It was after the first test, and it was a couple of days after, and Bozo rings a room, and Terry Hill's in my room. He's my roommate. Terry answered the phone, and he hands the phone to me. He says, "It's Bose, mate." And then listen, you got to know you only get a phone call off Bose if you're getting dropped or sent home, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm thinking, oh shit! I didn't think I was going to get dropped because I played okay. I played quite good in that first test, and my form leading up to that was good. And I'm like, oh, so I pick up the phone. He says, Robbo, you need to come up and see me, mate. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm on my way, Bose. And I said to Terry, he's going to cut me, mate. He's going to drop me for whatever reason. Of course, Bose is staying up at the penthouse, so I get the
Lift all the way up to the top.
I get the lift up there, and I get out and I walk to I go to his room, and the door's just ajar. It's open by about 6 inches, you know. So I just have a little look in, and he's there pacing the room like slowly up. And this is not Bose. Like Bose doesn't.
Okay, yeah.
He's pacing the room up and down. And he's mumbling something to himself. I feel like I watched him for 5 minutes. It was probably only about 30 seconds, and I'm thinking, oh shit. So I knocked on the door and he says, Robbo, come in, mate. Come in. Sit down. Sit on the bed. And I sat down and he stands in front of me and he starts pacing the room again. And after I felt like an eternity, but after like 30 seconds or so, I said, Bose, mate, just tell me what's happened. And because I'm now thinking something big has happened, like there's been a death at home.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm now thinking, shit, this is quite serious. And he stops in front of me and he says, right, Robbo, you know I don't mind, eh, mate? And I'm like, what? He says, you know I don't care, mate. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, Bose. He says, Shane, mate. Shane. I'm like, what about Shane? He said, mate, Shane can't stay with you in the hotel. And I said, Bose, he's not, mate. He's staying at a B&B up the road. And he says, what? He says, so they've got that wrong. Someone's told me that he's staying. I said, no, mate, he's staying at a B&B. And he goes, oh, mate, not a problem. Oh, that's all I needed to hear, Robbo. Oh, mate. He was like, oh, fantastic. Oh, that's all good, Robbo. Oh, no, I'm going to tell you, mate, that is the most difficult conversation that man's ever had, right? And it was just one of those moments. It's the first time in my rugby league life that I felt validated, mate. But I felt like,
yeah,
he actually like, you know, he took the bull by the horns. He like the elephant in the room. He's just, and as I left, I just turned around. I just said to him, "Thank you very much for that conversation, Bose. You don't know how much that meant, mate." And he's just like, "Robbo, it's all good, mate. Yeah, it's not a." And then we kissed and that, but no, it's all right. no, you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It's like, all good, Robbo. No worries, mate. It was one of those moments you think, oh, that's what leadership is. You know, that's like. It's about being prepared to have those awkward conversations or those. Yeah, it was. I mean, that's what that is my fondest memory of league, mate. That conversation I had with
wow.
Like I said, mate, that is the most awkward conversation he's ever had in his life. You know, I knew that straight away. But the fact that he went there.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, great story for sure.